Countries all over the world are getting rid of their plastic trash by sending it to other countries. In this global trash trade, some countries like Malaysia are becoming the world's plastic dumpsters. Here's why that's a problem. According to statistics from the World Bank, countries under the OECD, that's largely made up of developed countries, produce the most trash. So it isn't really a surprise that for decades countries such as the UK, US, Canada and even Australia has been shipping off its plastic trash to developing countries like Malaysia to be recycled. But they've done so simply because it's cheaper than dealing with the waste themselves. And the countries receiving the waste welcomed it. Because even in the form of trash, plastics can be very valuable. Importers of this trash could recycle it and use it to make other plastic products, or to simply sell it as secondary raw material. Trash for cash. Since 1988, Chinese recyclers monopolized this business. In fact, almost half of the world's plastic waste was sent to China. But last year, in January of 2018, the Chinese government banned the import of plastic waste. This was seen as a move towards a higher value economy and to avoid the pollution produced by the industry. Since the ban, both Chinese recyclers as well as the countries exporting the trash have been scrambling to look for new places that will accept the waste. Cue Malaysia. South China Morning Post reports that as a result of the ban, plastic waste has been redirected in huge quantities to Southeast Asia, where Chinese recyclers have shifted. With a large Chinese-speaking minority, Malaysia was a top choice for Chinese recyclers looking to relocate. And the numbers prove this. Plastic imports have tripled from 168,500 tonnes throughout 2016 to 456,000 tonnes in just the first half of 2018. Proponents of the trash trading argue that importing waste is an economic transaction, which can benefit countries with little to offer the global economy. This report produced for the OECD claims it can boost global recycling rates. But oftentimes, the trash that's imported isn't even recyclable.
What came in also was mixed waste, contaminated waste, and low-grade value plastics, which cannot be recycled or it's not cost-effective to recycle. So what happened to this residual waste? They were just dumped by the factories, and mostly it was the illegal factories which were dumping it on the landfills and also started burning them.
Just a couple of weeks back at Westport in Port Klang, 10 shipping containers from Bangladesh carrying 450 metric tons of supposedly recyclable plastic was discovered to have illegal waste hidden.
These containers were illegally brought in to the country under false declaration and other offences which clearly violates our environmental law. We also view the Malaysians who actually import the garbage to Malaysia. They are traitors to the country's sustainability, and therefore they should be stopped and brought to justice.
Unfortunately, policing these recycling factories has been hard. Despite getting fined and shut down by authorities, many factories either just restart operation again or move to different locations. Kuala Lumpur Environmental Action Association Secretary Puah Lay Peng said these plastic recycling factories won't stop operating so easily, as there are still a lot of raw materials for them to work with. But added that it is doable if the local councils can strictly monitor and prevent them from secretly restarting their operations. But perhaps the most encouraging news is the recent amendment to the classification of plastic waste under the Basel Convention. The Basel Convention, an international treaty that was designed to reduce the movements of hazardous waste between nations, now classifies plastic waste as hazardous, which requires prior informed consent from the countries importing the plastic waste before any cross-border waste movement is conducted. This allows any country to send back waste that they did not agree to. But should Malaysia even be importing any waste in the first place?
We are producing organic waste up to 50%, and the rest would be including the recyclables and non-recyclables. But out of all that, we are only recycling 5%.
Shouldn't we be focusing on recycling our own waste first before taking on other people's trash? We're producing far too much waste that the government's resorting to incinerators, or what's called waste-to-energy plants.
Looking at the current situation, we are producing around 30,000 tons of waste per day. If you look at that point, I think we need an incinerator, because we can't keep on going to dump our waste in the landfills. Usually, what goes into an incinerator is supposed to be what cannot be recycled.
But that still doesn't solve the matter of plastic waste, which cannot be incinerated.
Incinerating plastic will release a lot of toxic substances to the environment, which can be cancerous to us, and at the same time it can cause many type of health hazards. Apart from that, some particles which are volatile from the plastics, we are not sure what it might do to the environment. We are only concerned about the human health right now, but we do not know what it might do to the environment.
That's exactly what was happening in Jenjaru when illegal processing plants were burning and melting plastic waste that was shipped in from the UK, Australia and New Zealand. After suffering eye, throat and breathing discomfort, villagers in the area decided to investigate, and that's when they found about 40 dump sites with the plastic waste. So where does that leave us? Sure, we can send back the trash that's illegally come to our shores and best hope the countries of origin don't just ship them someplace else. But regardless where they end up, it's gonna be on planet Earth, and that's a problem for the lot of us as a species. We can recycle as much as we want, but ultimately we need to be less dependent on plastics. If anything, that's the conversation we need to be having.